Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers with your host, Bang and Dang. Or welcome to Outlaws and Gunslingers with your host, Bang and Dang. If you don't know what we do here, this is your first time tuning in. This is sort of a true crime podcast.
it is a true crime.
I say sort of because we're not a conventional true crime podcast. We just don't go in here and this is what happened and this is when it happened.
No, we will make stupid jokes.
Right.
We will butcher names.
We are very unprofessional, and you'll see, as you could probably tell from this intro already, that what kind of podcast we're going to be. So, if you're looking for a straight up,
Get to the point.
no nonsense podcast about true crime, this isn't it. But if you're looking to have a little fun and still learn some stuff at the same time, this might be it for you. With that being said, you can get this show commercial free, ad free, by going to our patreon.com/bang dang and signing up for just $2 a month. You'll get the audio version for free. Get your own RSS feed, plug it into whatever podcast app you use, but no ads, and probably a couple other things that are too sensitive for people might be left in there as well, because can't leave everything in these free episodes.
No, because everybody whines.
Yeah, if you're looking for ad free and a little bit extra each episode, $2 a month, patreon.com/bang
You
dang.
can't use the F word for every other word. Yes,
Well,
you
you can.
You can.
We're diving into the Virginia Tech spree shooting. Occurred April 16, 2007. 2 attacks on the campus of the Virginia Tech campus in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Did you hear that? 2 shootings in the same day
By the same guy.
by the same guy.
Yeah.
Come on.
That individual being Sung Hee Cho was an undergraduate student at the university and a U.S. resident who was from South Korea.
Look at that.
He ended up killing 32, wounding 17 with 2 semi-automatic, pistols. 6 others were injured jumping out of windows trying to escape him. And we'll go into detail about all that, including the almost 3-hour difference between the first set of shootings and the second set of shootings.
Stupid.
He was born January 18th, 1984 in the city of Asan in South Korea's South Chungcheong province. Hope I said that right. Cho and his family lived in a basement apartment in the city of Seoul for a couple years before immigrating to the United States.
Well, ain't that just fantastic? Right. So we got Cho's father, self-employed as a bookstore owner. Made minimal profits from that venture, though. Seeking better education opportunities for his son and daughter, he said, let's go to the United States, woman. When are we going to go? 1992. So they go to the United States in 1992 when Cho was 8 years old. Family lived in Detroit. That's a shocker.
All right.
Then moved to Washington metropolitan area after learning that it had one of the largest South Korean communities in the United States.
Cool.
Cho's family settled in Centreville in western Fairfax County, Virginia, west of Washington, D.C. That whole area over there, Baltimore, all that, just surrounding Washington, D.C. is just the worst. It's the worst in America.
Yeah.
It's bad. Cho's father and mother opened a dry cleaning business after they moved to Centerville. Cho and his family became permanent residents of the United States as South Korean nationals.
Good for them, right?
Yeah, his parents became members of the local Christian church, and Cho himself was raised as a member of the religion. Although, in a note, Cho railed against his parents' strong Christian belief. What do they believe in South Korea? It's like Buddhism or something like that?
Christianity, I'm assuming.
You think so?
I don't know. Why not? Some member of Joe's family who had remained in South Korea had concerns about his behavior during his early childhood.
No, geez. They're like, you watch out for him.
Cho's relatives thought that he was selectively mute or mentally ill and have stated in interviews that he rarely spoke or showed affection.
So is his first name actually Cho, and his last name is
I don't know if they do that in
Chonghee?
I don't know if they do that in South Korea. I'd like to do in China, but very well could be. Right? I guess. During an ABC News Nightline interview on August 30th, 2007, his grandfather reported his concerns about Cho's behavior during childhood as well.
Oh.
According to Cho's grandfather, he never made eye contact, never called him grandfather, and never moved to embrace him.
Well, isn't like South Korea, their families
How
are
much
like
were of
pretty
a
strict.
dick were you,
Right.
granddaddy?
They're like pretty strict over studies and stuff, right? They study like 20 hours a day.
Do chores the other 4.
Right. Cho attended the Poplar Tree Elementary School in Chantilly, an unincorporated small community in Fairfax County.
Mm-hmm.
An ominous family acquaintance claimed that every time he came home from school, he would cry and throw tantrums, saying he would never wanted to go back again.
some Southern Asians.
According to a former 5th grade classmate of Cho's finished the 3-year program at Poplar Tree Elementary School in 1.5 years. So the kid was smart.
Yeah, well.
And he was pointed to as a good example by teachers. And he was not disliked by other students.
Wasn't disliked.
So in elementary school, he was a good little kid. But
then he attended 2 secondary schools in Fairfax County, Ormond Stone Middle School in Centerville and Westfield High School in Chantilly. By the 8th grade, he had been diagnosed with selective mutism, a social anxiety disorder that inhibited him from speaking in specific instances and or to specific individuals.
Like he was so nervous he couldn't speak.
Or just was like, screw you.
Right.
He was reportedly bullied for his shyness and unusual speech mannerisms throughout high school and at least once for his ethnicity.
They had to throw that in there.
At least once, right? Other former classmates stated he was a loner who did not seem interested in interacting when teachers or other students tried to include
I
him.
don't understand why they try to make kids do that. Some people are just
Maybe
loners.
I don't want to
Right.
participate with you.
Some people are just like that.
All right. During his 9th grade year in 99, the Columbine High School massacre made international news. Not only national, international. Cho was reportedly transfixed by the news and idolized the 2 douchebags that did the shooting.
We will not speak of their names.
Cho wrote in a school assignment about wanting to repeat Columbine.
Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold.
So here's your first red flag. He's writing in a school assignment that he had to had to turn in to repeat Columbine.
Mm-hmm.
The school contacted Cho's sister, who reported the incident to their parents. He was then sent to a psychiatrist. Yeah, well, I don't think a psychiatrist is who he should have been sent to.
Right. Maybe juvenile psychiatrist.
He graduated high school in 2003. Good for him.
Well, good for him. The Virginia Tech Review Panel report released in August 2007 placed his diagnosis of mutism, what do they call it?
Selective
mutism and possible autism.
Huh.
His parents sought treatment for him through medication and therapy. In high school, Cho was placed in special education under the emotional disturbance classification.
Oh, shut up.
He was excused from oral presentations and class conversation and received speech therapy. He continued receiving mental health therapy as well until the end of his junior year. According to 2 of Cho's family members and 1 family friend.
I got that family friend in there. Huh?
Right. The Cho family had been told that Cho's mutism was due to autism. However, no known record exists of Cho ever being diagnosed with autism. Don't sound like autism to me.
No. The Virginia Tech Review Panel report states that Cho's high school had ruled out an autism diagnosis.
Right.
A clinical psychologist and expert in selective mutism said that based on Cho's videos, he was not autistic. He clearly had the capability of talking to people, quote unquote. A 2017 paper from the Journal of Psychology states that there is strong evidence suggesting Asperger's syndrome for Cho. To address his problems, his parents took him to church.
I mean, Asperger's does sound a little more reasonable for his condition. He's shy, can't really have social conversations.
Right.
Get it.
I don't know. Elon Musk has Asperger's.
Yeah, but there's different forms.
Obviously. They took him to church, and according to a pastor at the Centerville Korean Presbyterian Church, he was a smart student who understood the Bible, but the pastor added that he had never heard Cho say a complete sentence.
So what?
The pastor also recalled telling Cho's mother that he speculated Cho was autistic.
Oh, geez. He's like, no, we got the papers to prove it.
Right. Federal law prohibited Westfield officials from disclosing any record of disability or treatment without Cho's permission. The officials disclosed none of Cho's speech and anxiety-related problems to Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Nor should they have.
Right. I mean, it's private information, but
I don't know what him having the speech stuff matters anyways.
I mean, but the university should have got that letter.
Should probably have that
essay.
school assignment about wanting to repeat Columbine.
That should have been plastered everywhere.
Right. Stay away from libraries.
Everywhere. In his freshman year at Virginia Tech, that year was 2003, Cho enrolled as an undergraduate major in business information technology. This kid was smart. By his senior year, Cho was majoring in English.
So he got through 4 years of college just fine, right?
Right. Intending to become a writer he wanted to be. At the time of the attacks, Cho lived...
He was majoring in business information technology and then wants to become a writer.
Right, okay. Whatever. At the time of the attacks, Cho lived with 5 roommates in a 3-bedroom suite in Harper Hall. Nikki Giovanni says she taught Cho in a poetry class in the fall of 2005. She had him removed from her class because she found behavior menacing. Never heard that one before. She recalled that Cho had a mean streak and described his writings as intimidating. I can see the writings, but
yeah, he was probably writing about some
crazy stuff. Man. Giovanni reports that Cho wore sunglasses in class and that when she tried to get him to participate in class discussion, Cho remained silent. He's like, I didn't have to do that in high school.
Right.
In Giovanni's class, Cho intimidated female classmates by photographing their legs under their desk, writing violent and obscene poetry to them. In fall of 2005, Giovanni told then department head Lucinda Roy that she was willing to resign before she was going to continue with Cho in her class. After this, Roy removed Cho from her class.
Okay. Well, Roy says that since she found Cho's writings to be very disturbing, she asked for help from the police and the university administration. However, she states that the police had difficulty since Cho did not make any explicit threat.
I mean, right. Come on now.
After Giovanni was informed of the massacre, she remarked that she knew when it happened that it's probably who it was and would have been shocked if it wasn't.
Wow.
Roy had taught Cho an introduction to poetry the previous year. She described him as actually quite arrogant and could be quite obnoxious and was also deeply, it seemed, insecure.
I can see that.
That she told him numerous times to go to counseling. She said Cho resisted speaking in class and took cell phone pictures of her. All right.
Dang. After Roy became concerned with Cho's behavior and the themes of his writing, she started meeting with Cho to work with him one-on-one. Well, look at that. It's a good teacher right there, boys. However, she soon became concerned for her safety, told her assistant that she would use the name of a dead professor as a duress code in order to alert her assistants to call security.
What is he saying and doing in these meetings
Right.
or like these private one-on-ones?
Damn, she must be dark too. She's naming a dead professor. Don't ever speak of a dead person's name. After Roy notified authorities of Cho's behavior, she urged Cho to seek counseling. Roy described Cho as seeming extraordinarily lonely. Said that Cho said to me once he was lonely and he did not have any friends. Other professors were familiar with Cho's disturbing demeanor, recommended that Cho seek counseling as well.
You guys and your counseling.
Right. Some professors were not aware until informed by others that Cho had mental health problems and had been reported to the police. Afterwards, speculating that the information was not accessible or was privileged and could not be released.
Well, it's reported that in his first year at Virginia Tech, he tried to fit in, but had become very isolated in his last year. During one party, he sat in the corner and repeatedly stabbed the carpet in the girls' room while his roommates were present. Fellow students described Cho as a quiet person who would not respond if someone greeted him. Student Julie Poole recalled on the first day of a literature class the previous year, professor found that Cho had written only a question mark instead of his name on a sign-in sheet, so we just really knew him as the question mark kid.
Nice.
She says. Karen Gruwall and Joseph Aust, who shared a dorm with Cho, reported that he was reclusive and they mutually avoided interacting with him. Both roommates claimed Cho had an imaginary girlfriend named Jelly.
Jelly. I mean, see, that's the problem too, man. Clearly this kid needs some type of attention. Give it to him. Don't be scared and further isolate the guy.
Well, or further isolate him. Put him in a dorm all by himself.
With his arms tied around his body.
Oss notes that during the last couple of weeks before the massacre, he noticed that Cho's sleep schedule became unusual.
Well, maybe him and Jelly were fighting then.
Right. Andy Koch and John Eid, who once shared a room with Cho at Cochran Hall during 2005 and 6, state that they were aware of the imaginary girlfriend as well. Yeah, Jelly, we know Jelly.
Yeah, Jelly, she's a fine girl. Koch claimed that Cho, under the influence of alcohol at a party, described Jelly as a supermodel living in space.
Well, there we go.
Koch described other incidents of disturbing behavior. Once, Cho stood in the doorway of his room late at night, taking pictures of Koch. Cho repeatedly placed harassing cell phone calls to Koch as Cho's brother, or question mark, a name Cho also used when introducing himself to Gales. So he liked the name question mark, I guess.
So.
Good for him. Koch and Eid searched Cho's belongings, and they found a pocket knife, but they did not find any items that they deemed threatening besides the pocket knife.
Right. Well, everybody has a pocket knife
with carpet remnants on it. Koch also described a telephone call that he received from Cho during Thanksgiving holiday break from school, during which Cho claimed to be vacationing with Vladimir Putin in North Carolina. Well, hey, man, what are you doing? Eat some turkey? I'm with Putin in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah, we're at
We caught a
Caught the red eye.
UNC basketball game.
Oh, nice. Koch and Ede. Wouldn't be during Thanksgiving. No, maybe.
Right?
No, I doubt it.
No.
Koch and Ede, who had earlier tried to befriend him, gradually stopped talking to him altogether and told their friends, especially female classmates, do not come visit us in our dorm.
No.
Please.
Not even if we're there.
Right. On one instance, Cho told his roommates he had frightened a girl when he went to her dorm to look her in the eyes. Cho remarked he only found promiscuity in her eyes. So I didn't find what I was looking for.
Very promiscuous.
Right.
Koch and Ede stated that Cho had been involved in 2 incidents involving 2 different female students, which resulted in verbal warnings by the Virginia Tech campus police.
I mean, 1 is fine, but you get 2?
Right. The 2 students felt Cho was stalking them, but did not press charges. According to Koch, Mark was Cho's persona online to talk to girls.
Oh, geez.
Koch stated that Cho used to call him on the phone using the alias ?
I mean, do you think these people are stupid? They all know.
Right. Koch and Ede state that on at least 2 occasions, police came to their room to investigate a girl's complaint due to Cho's behavior online. According to Koch, one of these visits, during which the police came at night and knocked on the door, was due to Cho's harassment of a female student and talking about suicide online.
Oh, geez.
First such alleged incident occurred November 27, 2005. Female student called the campus police stating that Cho had sent her annoying messages,
Right.
and made an unannounced visit to her room.
Ooh, the messages are fine, but unannounced visits.
If you knocked, that's what people kind of do. You know, you go up to somebody's house and you knock, don't you?
I guess.
2 uniformed members of the campus police visited Cho's room at the dorm later that evening and warned him not to contact the student again. Cho said, I will comply. Will you, though?
Right.
I wonder if any of these people that he's stalking he killed.
Well, find out. The second alleged incident came to light on the 13th of December in 2005. The preceding days, Cho had contacted a friend of Koch's via instant message from AOL. You guys remember that?
AIM.
And he wrote on her door board a line from Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. Wonder what the line was. The young woman was initially unconcerned by the instant message and the quotation until she was contacted by Koch via instant message as well, who informed her of Cho's previous earlier stalking incident and speculated that Cho had schizophrenia. The young woman contacted the campus police, who again warned Cho against further unwanted contact. They're like, hey, bud.
Come on, man. We learned you already, or we warned you about this already. Come on, dude.
You just can't keep on doing this to all the girls.
It'd be weird. That's why nobody likes you.
Later that very same day, Cho sent an email to Koch stating, well, might as well kill myself now. Worried that Cho was suicidal, Koch contacted his father for advice. Both contacted campus authorities. The campus police returned to the dorm, escorted Cho to the New River Valley Community Services Board, the Virginia mental health agency serving Blacksburg.
All right.
Pending psychiatric evaluation.
December 13, 2005, he was taken by police to the Psychiatric Hospital of New River Valley Community Services Board. There, Krause, the physician who examined Cho the same day, declared he was found mentally ill and in need of hospitalization.
Oh.
He noted that Cho had a flat affect and depressed mood, and that Cho denies suicidal ideation.
Oh.
And does not acknowledge symptoms of a thought disorder, though. The physician also noted his insight and judgment are normal. Cho, suspected of being an imminent danger to himself or others, was detained temporarily at Carolean St. Albans Behavioral Health Center in Radford, Virginia, pending a commitment hearing before the Montgomery County, Virginia District Court. And on December 14, 2005, he was released from the mental health facility. After Cho's release the same day, Virginia Special Justice Paul Barnett certified an order that Cho presented an imminent danger to himself as a result of mental illness and ordered treatment for Cho as an outpatient.
Why?
Well, they ordered treatment, but he doesn't have to stay there.
So he should have to stay there. If he's a danger to others and himself.
Well, apparently not.
Get the hell out of here.
Well, however, he did not receive the treatment which had been ordered as due to Virginia's health system, quote unquote, either the court, the university, nor community services officials followed up on the judge's order.
That's just stupidity. They should have just kept him in there. The Virginia Tech Review Panel report shed light on numerous efforts by Cho's family to secure help for him as early as adolescence. However, when Cho reached 18 and left for college, his family lost his legal authority over him.
Obviously.
And their influence on him waned.
Obviously.
Cho's mother, increasingly concerned about his inattention to classwork, his classroom absences, and his asocial behavior, sought help for him during summer 2006 from various churches in Northern Virginia.
I mean, you're doing what you can, Mom, but he clearly doesn't like the church. So if he's not going to not like it, then you're not going to get him to go.
Right. According to Dong Cho Lee, minister of One Mind Presbyterian Church of Washington, located in Woodbridge, Cho's mother sought help from the church for Cho's problems. Lee added that Cho's problem needed to be solved by spiritual power. That's why she came to our church, because we were helping several people like him. Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe. Members of Lee's church even told Cho's mother that he had demonic power.
Oh, see, come on. I hate churchy people like that.
And that he needed deliverance from evil. Before the church could meet with the family, Cho returned to the school to start his senior year at Virginia Tech.
He's like, bye.
I gotta go. Class starts.
He's like, Virginia Tech's not going to try to do this. They're not going to try to get me to do anything. So.
Jeez.
In his manifesto, he
Of
says
course.
he had postponed the attack several times.
Oh.
He trained at a gun range up to 3 times before the shooting. During February and March of 2007, he began purchasing the weapons that he later used during the killing.
Oh, jeez.
February 9th, he purchased his first handgun, a 22 caliber Walther P22 semi-automatic pistol from TGSCOM Inc.,
Sure.
a federal licensed firearms dealer based in Green Bay, Wisconsin,
All right.
and the operator of the website through which Cho ordered the gun. TGSCOM Inc. shipped the Walther P22 to JND Pawnbrokers in Blacksburg, where Cho completed the legally required background check for the purchase transaction and took possession of the handgun.
I guess no, if they wouldn't report all the other stuff.
I was going to say,
No.
you would think his mental health order would pop up, but I guess
Obviously,
not.
they didn't even follow up on the mandatory
Right.
freaking outpatients.
March 13th, Cho bought a second handgun, a 9mm Glock 19 semi-automatic pistol. Stop saying semi-automatic pistol.
Right. Get the hell out of here.
From Roanoke Firearms, a licensed gun dealer located in Roanoke.
Oh, look at that. You could have just got the first one from Roanoke.
Right.
Jeez. Joe was able to pass both background checks and successfully complete both handgun purchases after he presented the gun dealers his United States permanent residency card, his green card, his Virginia driver's permit to prove legal age and length of Virginia residence, and a checkbook showing his Virginia address, in addition to waiting the required 30-day period between each gun purchase.
I don't know how much more you can get out of that, you know?
Right. He was, except for the stuff wasn't reported on his
Right.
stupid mental health.
Right.
He was successful at completing both handgun purchases because he did not disclose on the background questionnaire that a Virginia court had ordered him to undergo outpatient treatment at a mental
Well, of course,
health
somebody's
facility.
not going to disclose that. That's why you do a background check. March 22nd, 2007, he purchased 2 10-round magazines for the Walther P22 pistol through eBay from Elk Ridge Shooting Supplies in Idaho. Okay, based on our preliminary computer forensics examination of Cho's eBay purchase records, investigators suspected that Cho may have purchased an additional 10-round magazine on March 23rd from another eBay seller who sold gun accessories.
Okay.
He also bought jacketed hollow point bullets, which resulted in more tissue damage than full metal jacket bullets against unarmored targets by expanding upon entering soft tissue.
Oh, this guy's mean. Well, Virginia state law on mental health disqualifications to firearm purchases, however, is worded slightly different from the federal statute. So the form that Virginia courts use to notify state police about mental health disqualification addresses only the state criteria, which lists 2 potential categories that would warrant notification to the police. Someone who has involuntary committed or ruled mentally incapacitated. He was involuntary committed.
Yeah, but does it count because he was released
The day after.
and required outpatient care?
Maybe there wasn't enough time there for
I
the
don't
paperwork to be, who knows? Because Cho was not involuntarily
you have to be
committed.
an inpatient.
Right. Because Cho was not involuntarily committed to a mental health facility as an inpatient, he was still legally eligible to buy guns under Virginia state law. However, according to Virginia state law, a magistrate has the authority to issue a detention order upon a finding that a person is mentally ill and in need of hospitalization or treatment. What they didn't know, and they didn't look.
They did. Well, the judge could have, the one that found him in the one mentally ill, they could have, I recommend he doesn't purchase firepower or fire.
But they didn't.
That's what I'm saying.
The magistrate also must find that the person is an imminent danger to himself or others, which he
they did.
was, but they don't have no records of
Right.
that. Virginia officials and other law experts have argued that under United States federal law, Barnett's order meant that Cho had been adjudicated as a mental defective, right? And was thus ineligible to purchase firearms under federal law. And the state of Virginia failed in not enforcing the requirements of the federal law. Yeah, they just didn't do anything. They dropped the ball from the very get-go.
Well, it sounds a little bit like
Jeez.
sounds a little bit like the Air Force base that didn't report the choking and beating the hell out of the dude's wife from the church shooting that we just did. Well, those shootings we've been alluding to this whole time occurred in 2 separate incidents. First one was at West Ambler Johnston Hall, a residence hall where Sung Hee Cho killed 2 students. Second incident was in Norris Hall, an academic building on the opposite side of the campus where the other 31 deaths occurred, including that of Cho himself, and all the non-lethal injuries occurred as well. He used the 2 pistols that we talked about, right, the 22 Walther and the 9mm Glock.
Right.
He was seen near the entrance to the West Ambler Johnson Hall, a co-ed residence hall that houses 895 students at about 6:47 a.m.
Ooh, in the morning, too.
Eastern time. Normally, the hall is accessible only to its residents via magnetic key cards before 10 a.m. Cho's student mailbox was in the lobby of the building, so he had a pass card allowing access after 7:30, but it is unclear how he gained earlier entrance.
Right. Did he, like, stay in there all night long? Like, curled up under a desk or something?
Still, I mean, that's dumb. That's dumb anyways. Your mailboxes should still be separated by another door that allows you into the actual dorm.
Right.
Junior tech, you suck.
Usually they are.
All right.
7:15 a.m. Cho entered the room that freshman Emily J. Hilscher shared with another student. Shot Hilscher, 19-year-old from Woodville, Virginia. After hearing the gunshots, a resident assistant, 22-year-old senior Ryan C. Clark of Martinez, Georgia, attempted to aid Hilscher. Cho shot and killed Clark. Hilscher remained alive for 3 hours after being shot, but no one from the school, law enforcement, or hospital notified her family until after she had died. That's ridiculous. Cho left the scene and returned to his room in Harper Hall, a dormitory west of West Ambler Johnson Hall. While the police and medical units were responding to the shootings in the dorm next door, Cho changed out of his blood-stained clothes, logged onto his computer to delete his emails and his student university account, and then removed the hard drive. About an hour after the attack, Cho is believed to have been seen near the campus duck pond. Although authorities suspected Cho had thrown his hard drive and mobile phone into the water, a search by divers was unsuccessful.
Well, almost 2 hours after the first killings, Cho appeared at a nearby post office and mailed a package of writings and video recordings to NBC News.
Oh, wow.
These materials proved to be of little investigative value to authorities, though. The package was postmarked at 9:01 a.m., and around 9:40, he entered Norris Hall, which housed the engineering, science, and mechanics program, among others. In a backpack, he carried heavy-duty chains and locks. Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
A hammer, a knife, 2 purchased handguns with 19 10 and 15-round magazines and nearly 400 rounds of ammo.
Dang.
With the locks and chains, he chained the 3 main entrance doors shut and placed a note on one saying that attempting to open the door would cause a bomb to explode.
Oh.
Shortly before the shooting began, a faculty member found the note and took it to the 3rd floor to notify the school's administration.
Why would she take the note? If there was a bomb there.
No bomb.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
If there was.
Well, at about the same time, Cho would begin to shoot students and the faculty on the 2nd floor. The bomb threat was never called in.
Oh, wow.
The first call to 911 was received at 9:42 a.m.
Oh, jeez. Cho geared up in empty room 200 before the shooting began. According to several students, he looked into several classrooms, liked to see how many people were in each room. Aaron Sheehan, an eyewitness and survivor who had been in room 207, told reporters that the shooter peeked in twice earlier in the lesson, and that it was strange that someone at this point in the semester would be lost looking for a class.
Right.
9:40 a.m., Cho began shooting. His first attack after entering Norris occurred in an advanced hydrology engineering class taught by G.V. Loganathan, and that was in room 206. 13 registered students were inside. Cho chained the door shut, took a position in the doorway, shot and killed the professor, then continued firing, killing 9 of the 13 students in the room and injuring 2 others. Jeez, oh, Pete.
What are these people doing while he's chaining the door shut?
Right, there's allowing it to happen.
After exiting the classroom, he fired down the hall at 2 students who were fleeing from room 204 next door. Fleeing students managed to escape down the stairwell across the hall. He also fired at another student and the substitute professor from room 205 who were peering out from the door, but they survived. Went into room 207 where instructor Jamie Bishop was teaching introductory German. Cho shot Bishop and some students near the door, then walked around the classroom shooting more victims.
Oh, wow.
Bishop and 4 students were killed. 6 others were shot and wounded. He then moved to 211 and 204, where he was initially prevented from entering due to barricades erected by instructors and students.
Right.
Initially, though.
Mm-hmm. Hearing the commotion from below, Kevin Granada guided 20 students from a classroom on the 3rd floor into his office where the door could be locked and went downstairs to investigate along with another professor, Wally Grant, until they were both shot by Cho in the hallway. Jeez. Grant, who quickly fled into a bathroom, was wounded and survived, but Granada died of his injuries. None of the students locked in Granada's office were hurt or killed.
Good for him.
Good for him. Room 211. of intermediate French, Jocelyn Couture Nowak, saw Cho heading towards the doorway. She and student Henry Lee barricaded the door with a few desks while she yelled at students to get down on the floor, under the desk. Call 911. Cho pushed through the barricade and entered the room, killing Nowak and Lee, who fell behind the door. Jeez. For a distraction, another student named Matthew Laporte, who was a trained Air Force ROTC cadet, okay, nice, charged towards the gunman and attempted to tackle him, but died after being shot 7 times in an attempt to save his class. Jeez, oh, Pete, that's sad.
Of the 22 students enrolled in the class, 18 were present at the time of the shooting. In addition to the professor, a total of 11 students were killed and another 6 were injured.
Jeez.
Sole uninjured survivor, Clay Violan, played dead and was alongside a wounded female student, one of only 2 people to walk out of the room as soon as police arrived.
Oh, my.
Cho's pattern was to fire into classrooms from the doorways, then walk up down the aisles and methodically target potential survivors as they tried to hide. He did not say a single word throughout the shooting and occasionally loaded in the hallways, then left and re-entered some classrooms several times.
Oh, jeez. Jeez, dude. Retracing his path, Cho returned to room 206. There had to be something with these rooms.
Right, I don't know.
According to a student eyewitness, the movements of a student named Walid Shalan, who was already wounded, distracted the aggressor from a nearby student after he had returned to the room. Shalan was shot a second time and died. Also in the same room, another wounded student named Guillermo Coleman was shielded from more serious injury by having the body of a student, Pardahai Lambantoran, placed on top of him. But Coleman's various accounts make it unclear whether the body landed on him or he pulled it on top of him after being shot the first time. 2 other students who were also in the room made it out alive. Cho had entered room 206 3 times.
3 times, wow.
Why? Something's up there. He was looking for somebody.
Maybe. After his first entry into room 207, several students had barricaded the door and begun tending to the wounded. When Cho returned minutes later, Caitlin Carney and spokesperson Derek Odell were injured while holding the door closed, but the remaining students survived. Room 205, students had already barricaded the door with a large table after graduate assistant Haiyan Chang, who was substituting for the professor, and a student saw Cho heading toward them. Cho shot through the door about 7 times and failed to force his way in. No one in the classroom was wounded or killed.
All right, good for these guys. Across the hall, 204, Liviu Librescu, a Holocaust survivor from Romania, forcibly prevented the gunman from entering the room by holding the door closed with his body until most of his students escaped through the windows. Nice. After kicking open the window screens, the students successfully escaped. Some suffered leg injuries while landing on the ground 2 floors below. That's a long fall, right? Ankle injuries,
right?
Snap freaking legs. Others survived after landing on the shrubbery just below the window, and then ran either to some ambulances pulling up or to the nearest bus stop. Get me on his bus stop. We're going home. Through the door, Librescu was shot 4 times, including through his wristwatch. 2 others who were lying in the corner near the windows were injured, but survived, and described that after most of their classmates escaped through the windows and after the armed aggressor shot 4 times through the door, he finally forced his way in. Upon seeing the open windows and hardly any students in the room, Cho confronted Professor Librescu and student Minno Penchel, who was lying on the ground next to the door, and fatally shot both in the temple.
Jeez.
Wow.
Imagine that, dude. Survived a damn Holocaust in some camps and shit. Probably the most brutalest thing you think you're ever going to go through, and then this shit happens.
Jeez. He then turned to 2 other students who were taking cover and critically injured them before leaving, and re-entered in room 206 for a 3rd time.
Jeez.
Something's in 206.
9:50 a.m., 10 minutes after the second shooting began, a SWAT team started to enter the building. 10 minutes. They couldn't shoot their way through the chain-locked entrances, but managed entry via a separate entrance. Why can't you? They went up to the 3rd. There's a SWAT team. Don't they have, like, breached things?
Right, idiots.
They went up to the 3rd floor, but heard from student Emily Haas, who was wounded and survived in room 211, saying that the gunman was in her classroom as she stayed on the line. As police started to descend the stairwell, Cho had already begun to hear the footsteps. He looked out into the hallway briefly before walking back into the center of room 211 towards the windows, and just as police reached the 2nd floor, shot himself in the temple with the Glock 19 and died instantly.
Oh, I hope he did.
Pussy.
Actually, I don't hope he did.
Pussy.
Right.
When police arrived at room 211, they saw him lying on the ground with his guns beside him, and some students who were either injured or playing dead heard the officer's first words, "Gunman down." During the investigation, State Police Superintendent William Flaherty told a state panel that police found 203 remaining rounds of ammunition in Norris, and later testified that the armed aggressor was well prepared to continue on.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
This guy was just a whoo.
What a pussy.
Right.
doing all those defenseless people, but then when he sees people with guns coming towards him, he immediately kills himself. Shoot it out with them, you fucking pussy. If that's what you think you're cool and asshole.
During his 2 attacks, Cho killed 5 faculty and 27 students before he committed suicide. The Virginia Tech Review Panel reported that Cho's gunshots wounded 17 others. 6 more were injured when they jumped from the second-story windows to escape from Labrusco's room. You know what? Virginia Tech Review Panel, this is your fault, morons.
Well, not the review panel, but definitely Virginia Tech for sure.
Right. Sidney J. Vail, the director of Trauma Center at Caroline Roanoke Memorial Hospital, said that Cho's choice of 9mm hollow point ammunition increased the severity of the injuries.
You think?
Obviously. 28 of the victims were shot in the head.
Jeez,
oh, my.
Police arrived within 3 minutes after receiving the emergency call from Norris Hall, but officers took about 5 minutes to enter the barricaded building. Stupid. When they could not break the chains, an officer shot out a deadbolt lock leading into a laboratory, but then moved to a nearby stairwell. As police reached the second floor, they heard the final shot. His body was discovered in room 211, which was said. In the aftermath, high winds related to the April 2007 nor'easter prevented emergency medical services from using helicopters for evacuation. Wow. Victims injured in the shooting were treated at Montgomery Regional Hospital in Blacksburg, Caroline New River Valley Medical Center in Radford, and 4 other hospitals. So all around, even as far as Tennessee. Dude. Wow. It's crazy.
Jeez, Pete. Virginia Tech first informed students of the situation via email, 9:26 a.m. Email. Nobody checks their emails all the time. This is about 2 hours after the first shooting.
They have some sort of
looked like a emergency thing.
Yeah. This is what 14 minutes before the second shooting.
Right. This is about 2 hours after the first shooting, which was thought at the time to be isolated in domestic nature. Yeah, somebody coming in fighting with the girlfriend.
I wonder if they thought that dude killed himself and then killed her.
Right. Yeah, but no weapons.
Right. Well, but that's my point. It took 2 hours to send that out. If they were looking for an active shooter or somebody was shot these 2 people, they're still on the loose.
It's true.
Should have been notified a hell of a lot earlier than 2 hours.
Tell me there ain't no cameras.
Right. That too. No, they caught him on camera. Remember?
After the full extent of the shooting became evident, the university canceled classes for the rest of the week. They also held an assembly and a candlelight vigil to the following evening on the 17th of April. Norris Hall was closed for the remainder of the semester. Yeah, shit, nobody wants to be in there. The university offered counseling for students and faculty. American Red Cross dispatched several dozen crisis counselors to Blacksburg to help students. University officials also allowed students, if they chose, to abbreviate their semester coursework and still receive a grade. Right? Yeah, I bet you everybody did. The day following the shooting, a memorial event was held at Castle Coliseum. Cassell, I think it is. The event included a speech by then President George W. Bush. The space reached capacity and overflowing seats was accommodated at a nearby Lane Stadium.
Jeez. Within a day after the shootings, Virginia Tech, whose supporters called themselves the Hokies, which is a nickname coined in a school cheer dating back to 1896, they formed the Hokie Spirit Memorial Fund to help remember and honor the victims. The fund was used to cover expenses including, but not limited to, assistance to victims and their families, grief counseling, memorials, communications expenses, and comfort expenses. Early in June 2007, the Virginia Tech Foundation announced that $3.2 million was moved from that fund into 32 separately named endowment funds, each created in honor of a victim killed in the shooting. This transfer brought each fund to the level of full endowment, allowing them to operate in perpetuity. What does that mean?
Yep.
Start gaining interest or something?
Maybe.
The naming and determination of how each fund would be directed was being developed with the victims' families. By early June 2007, donations to the fund had reached approximately $7 million.
Fantastic. July 2007, Kenneth R. Feinberg, who served as special master of the federal September 11th Victim Compensation Fund of 2001, he was named to administer the fund's distributions. In October 2007, families and surviving victims received payments from the fund ranging from $11,000 to $208,000. That's nothing. Both of those are nothing.
Right.
With $7 million in fucking funding.
This is still early on, so I'm hoping there's some other lawsuit after it came out that they failed to do the mental stuff.
Early June 2007, Virginia Tech announced that it would begin to reoccupy Norris Hall within a matter of weeks. The building is used for offices and laboratories for the engineering, science, and mechanics, and civil and environmental engineering departments. Its primary occupants before the shootings. Plans were to completely renovate the building and for it to no longer contain classrooms. The southwest wing of Norris Hall where the shootings took place, was closed in 2008. Completely renovated 2008 and 9. Okay.
Well, that building now houses the Center for Peace Studies and Violence Prevention, the Biomechanics Cluster Research Center, and the Global Technology Center, as well as other programs. Ambler Johnson Hall was also closed and renovated. The East Wing now houses the Honors Residential College, which opened in fall of 2011. In fall of 2012, the West Wing reopened as the residential college at West Ambler Johnston. After the release of the Massengill report, some of the victims' families called for then Governor Tim Kaine to relieve Virginia Tech's President Charles W. Steger and Campus Police Chief Wendell Flincham of their positions. Kaine refused, reasoning the school's official had suffered enough. Oh, get the hell out of there.
Right.
The Virginia Tech president is an idiot, and the campus police chief's an idiot. How many complaints against this kid was there?
In the hours, days following the shooting, makeshift memorials to those killed or injured began appearing in several locations on the campus. Many people placed flowers and items of remembrance at the base of the drill field observation podium in front of the Burris Hall. Later, members of the Hokies United, an alliance of student organizations on campus created to respond to the shooting, placed 32 pieces of Hokie stone, each labeled with the name of a victim. They placed them in a semicircle in front of the drill field viewing stand. What was originally termed as Intermediate Memorial was modeled after the makeshift memorial. 32 upright blocks of Hokie stone were engraved with the names of the victims and placed in a semicircle at the base of the reviewing stand. The original pieces of Hokie stone placed by Hokies United were offered to the families of the victims. The engraved markers are embedded in a semicircle of crushed gravel with a brick walkway for viewing. There is a ground lighting for nighttime illumination. 2 benches, one on either side of the memorial, in honor of the survivors. What, the benches were for the survivors?
I guess so, yeah. Tech students of South Korean descent initially feared they would be targeted for retribution. While no official claims of harassment were made, anecdotal evidence suggests that some Korean students were affected.
Oh, get the hell out
The
of here.
shootings occurred as prospective students were deciding whether to accept offers of admission from colleges and universities. Despite this timing, Virginia Tech exceeded its recruiting goal of 5,000 students for the class of 2011. In the days following the shooting, the campus community received several thousand pieces of artifacts and messages of condolence arriving from over 80 countries in every state within the U.S.
Nice.
These include artwork, cards, poetry, and original music.
Oh, fantastic.
How much of that original music sucked? Just saying.
I mean,
these items were later gathered and photographed by the university library and are available online at the condolence archives of the university library.
No shit.
President Bush and his wife, First Lady Laura Bush, attended the convocation at Virginia Tech the day after the shootings. The IRS and Virginia Department of Taxation granted 6 months extensions to individuals affected by the shootings. Hey, guys, where you're affected by the shootings, you don't have to pay your taxes for another 6 months, but after that 6 months, you're fucking better.
We'll come get your ass.
Governor Kaine returned early from a
thought
trade.
what Joe did was bad.
That's fucked up. Right. Governor Kaine returned early from a trade mission to Japan and declared a state of emergency in Virginia, enabling him to immediately deploy state personnel, equipment, and other resources in the aftermath of the shootings.
Jeez, oh,
that's stupid. You got to declare a state of emergency. How about this?
All right, it's emergency.
I'm going to deploy personnel, equipment, and other resources.
Jeez, oh,
I don't have to declare shit.
Right. Governor Kaine later created an 8-member panel, including former Secretary of Homeland Security Tom Ridge. He did this to review all aspects of the incident, from Cho's medical history to Virginia Tech's delay in warning students after initial shooting. August 2007, the panel concluded. Among more than 20 major findings, that the Virginia Tech Police Department did not take sufficient action to deal with what might happen if the initial lead proved erroneous. Right. So meaning when the first 2 shootings happened, they didn't, like I said, there's a guy on the loose. They should have shut down the whole university. They should have done all this shit. But no, their guys are like, that's fine. It's a lone incident. Right. The panel made more than 70 preventive recommendations directed to colleges, universities, mental health providers, law enforcement officials, emergency service providers, lawmakers, and other public officials in Virginia and elsewhere. I mean, and plus you can't, how many times this kid been
exactly
in trouble?
Exactly.
How many teachers didn't want to teach him?
Exactly.
I mean, come on now.
Exactly. While the panel did find errors in judgment and procedure, the ultimate conclusion was that Cho himself was responsible for his own actions.
Obviously.
And to imply that anyone else was accountable would be wrong. Well, not accountable, but definitely should have done something.
Right.
Review panel validated public criticisms that Virginia Tech police erred and prematurely concluding that their initial lead in the double homicide was a good one. And in the delay in a campus-wide notification for almost 2 hours.
Right.
What was their initial lead?
They probably thought
They thought it was her boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
The report analyzed the feasibility of a campus lockdown and essentially agreed with police testimony that such an action was not feasible. Why? The report concluded that the toll could have been reduced if the university had made an immediate decision to cancel classes and a stronger, clearer initial alert of the presence of a gunman. You know shit.
The whole thing could have been eluded if they would have reported that he was taken to a freaking mental house before he bought these guns. All that. Well, I guess he could have got them illegally anyhow if he really wanted to. The incident caused Virginia state lawmakers to re-examine gaps between federal and state gun law purchases. Within 2 weeks, Governor Kane had issued an executive order designed to close those gaps. Prompted by the incident, the federal government passed the first gun control law in more than a decade.
This is where it started out.
The bill, H.R. 2640, mandates improvements in state reporting to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System.
Yeah, the NICS was the same NICS that the Air Force didn't report to allowing the one church shooter to get the guns.
Right.
And that was after this happened. So clearly the mandates improvement, the state reporting didn't do shit. Well, this is state reporting. This is their own government.
Right. They authorized $1.3 billion in federal grants to the improvements, which were supposed to halt gun purchases for criminals, those declared mentally ill, and other people prohibited from possessing firearms. What's other people?
I swear.
Both the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence and the National Rifle Association supported the legislation. The measure passed the House of Representatives on a voice vote, June 13th, 2007.
The Senate also passed the measure on December 19th.
Why so long?
President Bush signed the measure on January 5th. March 24th, 2008, the Department of Education announced proposed changes in the regulations governing education records under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA.
Right.
Certain changes address issues raised by the Virginia Tech shooting and are intended to clarify for schools the appropriate balance to strike between concerns of individual privacy and public safety.
Okay.
Yeah, stuff like when you got somebody who's clearly doctor diagnosed that says he's an imminent danger to himself and others, that should be reported to any school he's going to. I think
so freaking so stupid. When the citizenship of the shooter became known, South Koreans expressed shock and a sense of public shame.
Well, I bet too.
While the government of South Korea convened an emergency meeting to consider possible ramifications, a candlelight vigil was held outside of the U.S. Embassy in Seoul. South Korean President Roh Moo-yeon expressed condolences, saying that he hoped that the United States would recover quickly from this incident.
Oh, trust me, they will.
Although Cho came to the United States as a third grader and was a permanent resident, many South Koreans felt guilt and mourned because they considered him a South Korean by blood.
Well, not only by blood, but he is a South Korean.
Right. One South Korean commentator opined that fears of xenophobic reprisals from Americans against them were, from a South Korean-centric perspective, not applicable to United States culture. Well, I'm stretching it there. But
South Korea's ambassador to the U.S. and several Korean-American religious leaders called on Korean Americans to participate in a 32-day fast. 1 day for each victim for repentance.
Wow.
Come on, taking a little too far there.
All right.
All because they're worried about their self-image and shit. Like, get out of here, dude. Foreign Minister Song Min-soon announced that safety measures had been established for South Korean citizens living in the U.S. in an apparent reference to fears of possible reprisal attacks.
Oh, get out of here.
A ministry official expressed hope that the shooting would not stir up racial prejudice or confrontation. Some South Koreans criticized the fasting proposal, saying that it directed undue attention and chose ethnicity and not other reasons behind the shooting.
Exactly.
Right. It's not because he was South Korean.
No.
News reports noted that South Koreans seemed relieved that American news coverage of Cho primarily focused the blame on his psychological problems rather than his race or ethnicity.
Obviously.
The Korea Tourism Organization pulled its Sparkling Korea television advertisement, saying it would be inappropriate to air the ads featuring images of South Korea's culture and natural beauty in between the news reports of the rampant.
Oh, get the hell out of
guys.
here. Come on.
Jeez. Why is it inappropriate?
Jeez.
I guess it would be inappropriate.
Kind of.
I guess.
I mean, not really, though.
Hey, come to the birthplace of your child's murderer.
Right. Hundreds of colleges and universities throughout North America responded to the incident with official condolences and by conducting their own vigils, memorial services, and by other gestures of support.
Like what?
Virginia,
Hey, we support you.
Virginia Tech's traditional sports rival, the University of Virginia, held a candlelight vigil the night of April 17th, at which University of Virginia President John T. Castine III urged a crowd of students, which overflowed the campus's McIntyre Amphitheater, said to continue to move forward, to change the world. Some schools also provided cash donations, housing for officers, and additional counseling support for Virginia Tech. Both inside the U.S. and abroad, the incident caused many universities to re-examine their own campus safety and security procedures, as well as their mental health support services. Great. I mean, I guess if one positive came out of this.
The International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators, or the IACLEA, convened a special review task force, which issued its report on April 18, 2008, titled the IACLEA Blueprint for the Safer Campuses.
Okay.
The report was a synthesis of the reports written following the tragedy of Virginia Tech and related recommendations for campus safety by the International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators. Okay, the task force made 20 specific recommendations representing the association's priorities for the betterment of campus safety and reinforcing key goals and objectives in mitigating and responding to threats at institutions of higher learning.
All right.
The report states the ICLEA does not support the carry and concealment of weapons on college campus, with the exception of sworn police officers and the conduct of their professional duties.
Okay. The subsequent position statement goes into greater detail. Additionally, the report includes an acknowledgement of the professionalism and well-coordinated response of all law enforcement agencies and first responders, and ends its conclusion with, securing the safety of our campuses is an iterative process that requires an institutional and personal commitment from every member of our educational communities.
Right.
Let these recommendations strengthen that resolve. Equatus, a Canada-based think tank specializing in international law, published a report pertaining to the Virginia Tech shooting, which includes a review of measures for counterterrorism and campus security adopted between 1993 and April 16, 2007. The report criticizes Virginia Tech's institutional decision-making process and summarizes the lethal effects of failing to implement and administer valid procedural safeguards aimed at securing the broad Virginia Tech and Blacksburg community against level 2 type incidents involving acts of terrorism and mass casualties.
That's only level 2. What's level 3?
Right. We don't even want to know.
All right. The report does not comment on gun control or mental health issues.
Of course not.
Some of Cho's family members expressed sympathy for the victims' families and described his history of mental and behavioral problems.
Everybody knew.
His maternal grandfather was quoted.
Right.
Yeah, we already.
Well,
Oh, he was quoted in the Daily Mirror referring to Cho as a person who deserved to die with the victim.
oh, jeez.
Wait a minute. How about he only deserved to die and not the victims?
Right.
April 20th, Cho's family lit up a big old blunt and issued a statement of grief and apology written by his sister, Sun Kyung Cho, 2004 graduated of Princeton. Oh, she's smart.
Dang.
Who was employed as a contractor for a State Department office.
Oh, shit.
In it, she stated, "He has made the world weep. We are living a nightmare. Our family is so very sorry for my brother's unspeakable actions. It is a terrible tragedy for all of us. We pray for their families and loved ones who are experiencing so much excruciating grief. And we pray for those who are injured and for those whose lives are changed forever because of what they witnessed and experienced. Each of these people had so much love, talent, and gifts to offer, and their lives were cut short by a horrible and senseless act."
I mean, what else are you supposed to say?
All right.
Many heads of state and international figures offer condolences and sympathy, including Pope Benedict the freaking 11th. No, the 16th. Damn.
Yeah, thank you, Pope Benedict. Your fucking condolences, sympathy. Really means a lot.
Right. Yeah. The presidents of South Korea, Chile, France, Mexico, Peru, the president-elect of Mauritania,
All right.
the prime ministers of Greece and Japan, the king of Morocco. Oh, look at you, king. You're talking about, you want to do your condolences? How about all the people you're oppressing? Morocco's terrible. Statements of condolence were issued by officials and diplomats from Canada, Georgia, Hungary, Iran, Nicaragua, Russia, Suriname, Thailand, Venezuela. Well, Venezuela. Before Venezuela was Venezuela.
Well, Venezuela's always been Venezuela.
A State Department spokesman said, "We haven't seen this kind of sympathy and support since Hurricane Katrina 9/11.
Literally within the last decade. Both of those.
Right. South Korean UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon condemned the killings.
Of course he did.
3rd of May, 2007, Queen Elizabeth II, God rest her soul.
She said, "It's so damn shame that all those young kids' blood got wasted. They could have sent to me."
I would not have died in 2022.
Right. Might have lived until at least 2025.
Right.
Jeez.
Queen Elizabeth II addressed the Virginia General Assembly and extended her sympathy on behalf of the United Kingdom. She then met privately with some faculty and survivors, including 3 who were wounded.
And suspiciously didn't come out of the room.
One of the survivors of the shooting, Caitlin Carney, who was shot in the hand, presented the Queen with a bracelet of 32 jewels in the Virginia Tech colors, maroon and orange. The Queen subsequently visited Jamestown, Virginia to mark the 400th anniversary of the first permanent English settlement in North America, which was primarily purpose of her trip, right? She was like, I'm here anyway. Might as well go check these.
So what they're saying is she wouldn't have went had she not have been there for Jamestown.
She wouldn't
anyway.
have gave two shits.
Sporting teams and leagues at both the college and professional levels, as well as sports figures from football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, NASCAR.
Well, they could have left soccer out of there.
They all paid their respects and joined fundraising efforts to honor the victims, most notably the Washington Nationals, who wore Virginia Tech hats during the game.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's cool. And DC United, who wore special Virginia Tech jerseys during the game. NASCAR put Virginia Tech decals on all of its cars for 3 weeks.
Fantastic.
East Carolina University made a $100,000 donation raised at the behest of its athletics director, Terry Holland.
Okay.
East Carolina was the opponent for Virginia Tech's opening home football game at Lane Stadium, September 1st, 2007, with more than 60,000 in attendance.
Dang.
Prior to the kickoff, 32 orange balloons were released in memory of the victims.
Fantastic.
And subsequently killed 4 birds.
Right. I know what you can do.
No,
Right?
just kidding.
It came to light that Sung Hee Cho used eBay to purchase 2 10-round magazines for one of the guns. July 30th, 2007, the online auctioneer prohibited the sale of firearms magazines, firearm parts, and ammunition on its site.
Yeah.
May 2010, the American band Exodus released an album titled Exhibit B, The Human Condition, which included a track, Class Dismissed. Band member Gary Holt stated, the song was primarily inspired by the massacre at Virginia Tech, as well as Columbine, and the many other instances of unhinged individuals who decided to take out their wrath on their classmates. Going all the way back to Charles J. Whitman. Everybody remembers Charles J. Whitman.
Well, Whitman wasn't really a classmate.
Could have been.
Okay. 2 students at Pennsylvania State University dressed as Virginia Tech shooting victims for Halloween in 2007.
Really?
Posting their photos on Facebook, which generated outrage at both Penn State and Virginia. Well, it is Penn State. They do fuck kids in the locker room.
Right.
Penn State told Virginia Tech, we're appalled at these individuals who display this level of insensitivity and lack of common decency by dressing up in this manner. The fact that one of the individuals is actually from Virginia makes it even more difficult to understand. Just because you're from somewhere doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Amateur computer video game that recreates the shooting, VTech Rampage,
Oh, no.
also sparked outrage. Creator Ryan Lamborn, a resident of Sydney, Australia, who grew up in the United States, posted a message on his website stating that he would remove the game in exchange for payment, but later posted that the statement was a joke.
It wasn't.
New York State Senator Andrew Lanza. Oh no, isn't one of the school shooters Adam Lanza? What's that about? Called for boycott of the game, stating there are certain things in life you don't make light of, and it should not be turning it into a game.
I mean, I get that. Right.
It's not a game. It's a tremendous loss of life, he says.
Wow.
I mean, I get it, but
wow.
if that's the case, then you should never make movies about the Crusades, the World War, the Civil War. You should never make games about those either or anything like that. I mean, I get the sensitivity of it all, but I mean,
yeah, look at all these Call of Duty games out there. Those people are getting shot out there with somebody's grandpas, great grandpas, right? I mean, the Australian Minister of Communications, Senator Helen Coonan, said that she would launch an official investigation, stating the individual responsible for the game is using a terrible tragedy to draw attention to himself and his work. It is in very poor taste, and the person concerned may want to consider getting some professional help. I mean, what kind of investigation can you do?
right.
I mean, she's a Pete. Lamborn also created a video game based on the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, which drew criticism and also sparked outrage.
That one's a little more. That was a little more fucked. Those are like 6-year-old kids,
right?
A Northern Virginia chapter of the B'nai B'rith Youth Organization, founded in November 2008 by Aaron Adler and Ethan Blonder, took on the name Levu Lebrescu AZA.
Yeah, the teacher.
Yeah, in honor of the Holocaust survivor who used his body to barricade Cho from entering his room. September 4th, 2009, the Marching Virginians, one of Virginia Tech's marching band, took a 140-mile side trip on their way to the season-opening football game against the University of Alabama at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. The 350-member band, 20 cheerleaders, and members of the Corps of Cadets Color Guard performed at Lakeside High School, which is the alma mater of Ryan C. Clark.
Right, the other one.
Along with the Lakeside Marching Band and visiting Evans High Band.
Okay.
The event was organized by the Central Savannah River Area Virginia Tech Alumni Chapter to honor Clark's memory and as a fundraiser for a scholarship in his name. Good for
Fantastic.
them. Good for them.
Yep. Following the shootings, Virginia Tech began employing an alert system on their website and text messages to warn students of danger. The alert system was first activated in 2008 when an exploded cartridge from a nail gun produced sound similar to gunfire near a campus dorm. It was again activated on 4th of August, 2011, when children attending a summer class reported a man carrying a handgun. Police were unable to find anyone matching the children's description, though. Later, 2011, December 8th to be exact, the system was activated again after a police officer was shot and killed on campus. This turned out to be a random act by a part-time Radford University student who had carjacked a Mercedes SUV earlier in the day in nearby Radford and had parked it in the general area of Virginia Tech parking lot. And just wrong place, wrong time, where the officer was conducting a routine traffic stop on a third party.
No,
so why the guy even... Well, the shooter turned the gun on himself a half an hour later.
All right. Beginning with the first anniversary of the attack and continuing since, the Queen's Guard of the College of William and Mary, another public university in Virginia, has memorialized the victims with an honor guard at the head of the college's sunken garden.
Okay.
The honor guard is modeled after the honor guard posted at the Tomb of the Unknowns by soldiers of the United States Army's Old Guard.
Oh.
Or I wonder if they're as strict.
All right.
Have you ever seen those videos?
I did.
Like you literally yell at people, shut your mouths.
Yeah.
Several organizations have hosted annual blood drives on or near the anniversary date of the shooting as a tribute to the victims. Didn't we do the one, one where said the blood drives didn't matter?
Right.
Like it just, all the blood expired.
Right.
Was it Black Wall Street or something?
Something like that. They couldn't even use half of it. So stupid.
The Virginia Tech Alumni Association National Capital Region Chapter, who were called the DC Hokies, just say that.
Right.
Has held a yearly blood drive in remembrance of the victims of the shooting, as well as sponsoring a local 3.2 mile or 3.2 for 32 run on or near the anniversary. The Shenandoah chapter of the Virginia Tech Alumni Association also hosts an annual blood drive. It's a lot of blood.
All right.
Other blood drives are held by the Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets and other chapters of the Virginia Tech Alumni Association under the name Virginia Tech for Life.
Virginia Tech holds a yearly day of remembrance for the attack, with events such as candle lighting ceremony, wreath laying, moment of silence at 9:43 a.m. and a cadet guard at the memorial for 32 minutes.
Well, why not earlier? The first people were shot at like 7:15, bros.
I know. They don't care about those two. University of Waterloo sociology professor Kenneth Westhus, so stupid names, get real names, criticized both the university's response to the shootings and the Massengill report.
What does that even mean?
Kenneth identified the cause of the shootings as a mobbing Cho had experienced in the Virginia Tech English department and suggested that the explanation for Cho's actions should go beyond what he calls the defective character explanation. So he's saying this guy was mobbed. A more truthful and therefore more useful explanation of Virginia Tech murders focused not on Cho's character, but on the interaction between it and its situations he was in.
Oh, so blame everybody else around him instead of the fucked up pussy that he was.
Not on his personal identity, but on the interplay between who he was and how other people treated him.
Fuck off, man.
Kenneth cited the experiences of another Virginia Tech student in the same department as being very similar to Cho's.
Did he shoot anybody?
He criticized Virginia Tech and the Massengill report for failing to advance a fuller explanation of the causes of the shootings, which he suggested should be one of the character situation interplay.
Shut up.
I mean,
no, shut up. Shut up.
They did treat him.
Shut up.
They did treat him pretty poorly.
How they treated him.
He was isolated.
I don't give a shit how they treated him. He wasn't isolated. The kid clearly was going to parties and stabbing knives and fucking carpets and
one time
doing all that shit.
At one time.
Dude wasn't isolated. Lived in a dorm with 5 other dudes.
And it was a dull knife. He never sharpened it.
Dumb. Novelist Lucinda Roy, you might have heard her name before. She was a former chair of Virginia Tech's English department. Was also critical of the way the university treated Cho as a student. In her book, No Right to Remain Silent, The Tragedy of Virginia Tech. Hey, the tragedy of what I'm about to make money on, because I'm a piece of shit too.
Right.
Roy recounts how she worked with Cho one-on-one in a poetry tutorial and how he felt he didn't get the help that he needed. How she felt he didn't get the help. When Roy approached campus counseling as well as others in the university about Cho, she was repeatedly told that they could not intervene unless a student sought counseling voluntarily.
Yeah,
sure. That is true. You can't just...
Yeah.
Eventually, Roy's efforts to persuade Cho to seek help worked. Did they?
Did they?
Yeah, they worked all right.
Right.
Seeked help with a bullet. Unbelievably, on the 3 occasions he contacted the counseling center staff, he did not receive a comprehensive evaluation by them. A startling discovery Roy learned about after Cho's death. After responding to questions from the media and handing over information to law enforcement as instructed by Vinger.
So what were these meetings about that Cho, when he contacted them? They had been about something. That had been documented something, right?
I'm sure counseling. Oh, I feel lonely and blah, blah, blah.
I feel like hurting myself or maybe others.
Right. Jeez. After responding to questions.
Well, you don't do that now, okay?
All right, you just go back to class.
Bye-bye. Now I got a 9 o'clock tea time.
After responding to questions from the media and handing over information to law enforcement as instructed by Virginia Tech, Roy was shunned by the administration.
Of course.
Papers documented Cho's interactions with the campus councilman were lost.
Oh, I'm sure
They were lost.
The FBI must have been involved in this.
Uh-oh, the university was suddenly on the defensive.
Oh, I wonder why. You pieces of shit. Mass shooting reignited the gun politics debate in the United States, with proponents of gun control legislation arguing that guns are too accessible.
Well, they're not that accessible if people do their fucking jobs and report the shit that they're supposed to report.
Exactly. Citing that Cho, a mentally unsound individual, which should have been reported,
Right.
and he would never be able to get those guns.
Legally, anyways.
Able to purchase 2 handguns despite state laws that should have prevented such a purchase. But the state laws are there. That's what you don't understand. That's what these people don't understand.
The state law was there, just other individuals or other institutions failed to report what was supposed to be there.
Opponents of gun control argue that Virginia Tech's gun-free safe zone policy ensured that none of the other students or faculty would be armed, and that a result, they were unable to stop Cho.
That's not the answer either. You're not going to fucking arm a bunch of kids and faculty.
No.
That's what they have police there.
Right. Get the hell out of here.
Law enforcement officials found a purchase receipt for one of the guns used in the assault among Cho's belongings. The shooter waited 1 month after buying a Walther P22 pistol before he bought the Glock 19.
He had to.
He used 15-round magazine in the Glock, a 10-round in the Walther. Serial numbers on the weapons were filed off. Don't know why.
Yeah.
The ATF National Laboratory was able to reveal them and performed a firearms trace. The sale of firearms by a licensed dealer in Virginia is restricted to residents who successfully pass a background check, which he did.
Yep.
Legal permanent resident aliens may purchase firearms.
Damn.
At the time of the shooting, Virginia law also limited purchase of handguns to one every 30 days.
That's which he only did one in Virginia.
In Virginia, that limit was repealed on April 3rd, 2003, until it was brought back into law on July 1st, 2020. Okay.
See, they're focusing on the stuff that's already there. If the freaking shit would have been documented and given to the people that needed it, the information, and none of this would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Once he would have put that, even if he would have lied on his low gun application that he'd never been, they would have been like, sir,
you lied on your application. No gun for you.
See that? And plus probably jail time.
I don't know. Maybe.
Federal level, the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act requires a criminal background check.
Remember from last episode with Reagan, that was one of the people that got shot during that, and they did this.
The Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act requires a criminal background check for all firearm purchases from licensed dealers, while the Gun Control Act of 1968 prohibits those adjudicated as mental defective from buying guns, which we already know. Virginia checks other databases in addition to the federally mandated NICS.
It doesn't matter what the fuck. I don't understand. It doesn't matter. They can check every single database in the world. If there's not reported to the damn database, it's not going to be in there.
Right. Well, this exclusion applied to Cho after a Virginia court declared him to be a danger to himself in 2005 and sent him to a psychiatric treatment. But because of the gaps between federal and Virginia state laws, the state did not report Cho's legal status to the NICS.
The gaps in my fucking ass, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no gaps. They just failed to do it because they're pieces of shit.
Exactly. And then, what about the gaps in state laws where he didn't follow up on his treatments?
Right. Not the state, the university, the school, whoever the hell it was at the time. Nobody did.
Governor Kane addressed this problem on the 30th of April, 2007 by issuing an executive order intended to close those reporting gaps. There was none. That's why it was so easy for him to do it. Guess what? We're closing these gaps. It was very easy to do.
No, you know what he did by closing the gaps? He said, "Hey guys, report this. Hey guys, report this stuff. Okay,
you guys please report this stuff."
Sad.
August 2007, the Massengill report called for a permanent change in the Code of Virginia to clarify and strengthen the state's background check requirements. If you would have reported it in the first place, the background check requirements would have worked.
Right.
The federal government also passed a law to improve state reporting to the INS. How do you pass a law to improve it? You can't make somebody do it. I don't understand.
Jeez.
They're so dumb, and people fall for this shit too.
Their improvement was, hey guys,
report it.
What's their improvement? Hey guys, report it. Okay.
I'm gonna need you to report that. That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
If you could get this back to me before the end of the day,
that'd be nice. But at the end of the day,
the shootings also renewed debate surrounding Virginia Tech's firearms ban. The university has a general ban on possession or storage of firearms on campus by employees, students, volunteers, or any other visitor or third parties, even if they are concealed handgun permit holders. In April 2005, a student permitted by the state to carry concealed handguns was discovered in possession of a concealed firearm while in class. Well, come on, you can't do that, guy. Wow. While no criminal charges were filed, a university spokesman said Virginia Tech had the right to adhere to and enforce that policy as a common sense protection of students, staff, and faculty, as well as guests and visitors. But you couldn't adhere to the reporting of the fucking get out of here.
Right.
January 2006, prior to the shootings, legislator Todd Gilbert had introduced a related bill into the Virginia House of Delegates, HB 1572, which was intended to forbid public universities from preventing students from lawfully carrying a concealed handgun on campus. Virginia Tech opposed the bill, which quickly died in subcommittee.
Yeah.
University spokesman Larry Hinker praised the defeat of the bill, stating, "I'm sure the university community is appreciative of the General Assembly's action because this will help parents, students, faculties, and visitors feel safe on our campus." Well, stick your foot in your mouth on that one.
All right. Idiots. August 2007. The Massengill report recommended that a General Assembly adopt legislation establishing the right of every institution of higher education to regulate the possession of firearms on campus if it so desires.
Right.
And went on to recommend campus gun bans unless mandated by law.
Wait a minute. He says he wants to establish the right of every institution to regulate the possession of firearms if it desires, but also went on, I recommend you ban them, though.
All right. I mean, are universities public or private?
Public.
Also,
Well, it depends. I mean, Michigan's like public. It depends what college, but yeah.
I mean, public property, you should be allowed to carry weapons.
Well, it's a public university, but it's private property still.
True.
Right. You still should be able to do whatever the hell you want.
The report also recommended gun control measures unrelated to the circumstances of the shooting, such as requiring background checks for all private firearm sales.
I don't know why that can. There's no way you're going to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Impossible. These guys are morons. That's like, it's stupidity.
Gun shows, maybe, but private?
Yes.
If I'm selling a gun to my neighbor,
I'm all for all the shit at the gun shows. People don't like it because you got to wait so long, and I want to go with my guns tonight. No. You have to go through all the normal shit, bud.
Gun shows are ignorant anyways.
Governor Kane made it a priority to enact a private sale background check law in 2008 General Assembly. You can't do it. But the bill was defeated in the Senate Courts of Justice Committee. They're like, are you stupid? There's no way we can enforce this. Opponents of gun control viewed this larger move as an unwarranted expansion and as a possible prelude waypoint akin to full gun registration for all gun sales. You can't.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, marijuana is legal in all these states, but you can never know if somebody's buying it off the street and not paying that 12% sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
You stunned cocks, mother freaking suckers.
The shooting and its aftermath energized student activist efforts seeking to overturn bans that prevent gun holders, both open carry and concealed carry permit holders, from carrying their weapons on college campus. Overturn them, huh?
Oh.
38 states throughout the U.S. ban weapons at schools. 16 of those specifically ban guns on college campuses. See, some of them you can take them on the campus, you just can't take them in.
Inside, yeah.
A new group, Students for the Concealed Carry on Campus, formed after the shooting. As of March 2008, it claimed to have 16,000 members at 500 campuses nationwide.
I mean, you're going to get...
Oh, I mean, you're going to have both sides of that aisle, obviously.
Obviously.
Several states considered legislation to allow gun permit holders to carry concealed firearms on university campuses. They cited cases of actual successful neutralization of active campus shooters by armed students who advanced their cause. Another attempt by Delegate Gilbert to pass a law to allow concealed weapons on college campuses in Virginia was defeated in March 2008.
Yeah, they ain't happening.
This law was for the sake of students and faculty members only, since the state attorney general ruled that it did not apply to non-students and non-faculty on campus who could carry concealed without restriction.
Right.
This law would have largely affected students aged 21 years or older, since younger people are not allowed to purchase handguns anyway.
The response to how gun laws affected the shooting was divided. According to the White House, the president believes that there is a right for people to bear arms, but that all laws must be followed.
Obviously.
Which they were.
Well, by the people. All laws were followed here by the purchaser and the sellers.
Yeah. And guess
it was the people that should have
the people that made these laws or enforcing these laws did not follow the law.
Exactly.
The Brady campaign said that it was too easy for an individual to get a powerful weapon and called for increased gun control measures. What are they going to do? You can try stop the sales.
See, the crazy thing about the Brady thing is the dude that did it, he got shot with a 22. It's hardly a powerful weapon.
Right. And plus, like I said, it's guns and drugs are the same. You never, ever, 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 ever in an eternity of the world are ever going to stop anybody from obtaining a gun or a doobie on the streets. I'm sorry to tell you.
Nope.
Any law in the world.
Nope.
Not happening.
Nope.
So get your freaking idiots. NRA board member Ted Nugent.
Hey,
oh,
Uncle Ted.
shit. Commenting on CNN, called for an end to gun-free zones and and said that the Virginia Tech shooting with other incidents and mass shootings have been ended by law-abiding gun owners, which a lot of them have. Texas Governor Rick Perry proposed that licensed gun owners be allowed to carry their weapons anywhere in Texas, which they do. Some government, here in Michigan, you can carry it with no permits.
Yes.
Some government officials in other counties or countries join in the criticism of United States gun laws and policies. For example, then Australian Prime Minister John Howard said that the stringent legislation introduced after the 1996 Port Arthur massacre had prevented a problematic gun culture in Australia. Did it? I don't think it did.
Well, it did. Australia's fucked. That's why they were so easily locked down and shit, because nobody has guns.
Right. Nobody.
Exactly. Governor King condemned the gun politics debate following the shooting, saying, to those who want to make this into some sort of crusade, I say take this elsewhere. Advocates opposed to gun control argued that they were merely responding to the crusade by some to use this tragedy as a basis for an expansion of gun control, which they usually do, for issues beyond the shootings as perceived to be presented by the Virginia Tech review panel. During the investigation, the police found a note in Cho's room in which he criticized rich kids, debauchery, and deceitful charlatans.
Oh, you don't want to
like whores, man.
Yeah, you don't want to be a charlatan.
In the note, Cho continued by saying that you caused me to do this. Earlier media reports also speculated that he was obsessed with fellow student Emily Hilscher and became enraged after she rejected his romantic overtures. Why didn't he kill her then?
He did.
Oh, it was the first one, wasn't it?
I don't know if he killed her. I don't know if he killed her.
Yeah, she was the one that didn't die for 3 hours. The first one that got shot. Was she the one that he stalked?
I might have been.
I can't believe we just glossed right over that.
I don't think they didn't say her name before. That was the first time we've seen it. No.
Yes, they.
Yeah, up here when she got shot, but not one of the girls that.
Yes, it said who made the report.
Yeah, man, just a female student.
Female student.
That's it. No names until
second and preceding day contacted a friend. And preceding day, Cho had contacted a friend of yeah, it doesn't say the name. Okay. Huh. Okay.
No name.
I'm gonna say, how do we miss that then? Right.
Right.
Yeah, but they say he was obsessed with Emily Hilscher, who was the first one killed, and became enraged after she rejected him.
One killed.
Well, I guess, but first one shot.
Right.
Law enforcement investigators cannot find evidence that Hilscher knew Cho. The Virginia Tech panel said that by sending the package to NBC, Cho wanted his motivation to be known, though it comes across as largely incoherent, and it is unclear why exactly he felt such strong animosity.
Law enforcement investigators used ballistics tests to determine that Cho fired the Glock 19 pistol during the attacks at the West Ambler Johnston dormitory and at Norson Hall on the Virginia Tech campus.
You think?
Police investigators found that Cho fired more than 170 rounds during the killing spree, evidenced by technicians finding at least 17 empty magazines at the scene. During the investigation, federal law enforcement investigators found that serial numbers were illegal. We already knew that. They're off the guns. Investigators also said that in mid-March...
Why would he do that?
I don't understand. No sense. Investigators also said that in mid-March, Cho practiced shooting at a fire range in Roanoke, about 40 miles from the campus.
That as well.
According to a former FBI agent and ABC consultant, this was no spur-of-the-moment crime. He's been thinking about this for several months prior to the shooting.
Clearly.
Obviously.
The FBI tracked Cho's...
These guys are so smart.
Right. The FBI tracked Cho's credit card transactions and found out he paid an escort girl 1 month before the shooting. Damn.
He was a virgin.
He had to get his rocks off before he went. Right. The escort stated that she and Cho had met at a motel in Roanoke. She said she danced for Cho and decided to leave after 15 minutes, but Cho told her that he'd pay for a full hour. She stated that she then started dancing again and that thereafter Cho touched her and tried to get on her, at which point she pushed him away and Cho respected her wishes. The escort described Cho as dorky, timid, and a little pushy. Well, it is only an escort. You're not obligated to have sex.
Right, not obligated. During the investigation, the matter of Cho's court-ordered mental health treatment was also examined to determine its outcome. Virginia investigators learned that after review of Cho's medical records that he never complied with the order for the mandated mental health treatment as an outpatient. The investigators also found that neither of the court nor New River Valley Community Services exercised oversight of his case to determine his compliance with the order.
Yeah, no fucking shit.
Hey, this guy's pretty dangerous. He could hurt himself or other people, but we'll just see if he pops up in the news.
The judge mandated that he get help, but we're not going to follow up on it.
Right. In response to questions about Cho's case, the New River Valley Community Service maintained that its facility was never named in the court order as a provider for his mental health treatment, and its responsibility ended once he was discharged from its care after the court order. You lying horse.
I mean, I guess they're not responsible for him afterwards, but the court is.
Right. In addition, Christopher Flynn, director of the Cook Counseling Center at Virginia Tech, mentioned that the court did not notify his office that Cho was required to seek outpatient mental health treatment. It looks bad for the city of what's it called?
Blacksburg.
Blacksburg. Flynn added that when a court gives a mandatory order that someone get outpatient treatment, that order is to the individual, not an agency.
Oh, fuck off. It's mandatory.
The one responsible for ensuring that the mentally ill person receives help in these sort of cases is the mentally ill person. How stupid is that? You're freaking crazy, bud. You need to get some outpatient help.
We're ordering you. Not we need you to.
Right.
We are ordering you.
Right. You will get some help because
But let me get a fucking parking ticket and not pay that shit on time. I bet you I'll get follow-ups from damn court after that, won't I?
Right. You ain't kidding, bud.
That's sad, dude.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, Cho escaped compliance with the court order for mandatory mental health treatment as an outpatient, even though Virginia law required community services boards to, quote-unquote, recommend a specific course of treatment and programs for mental health patients and monitor the person's compliance.
Oh.
As for the court, Virginia law also mandated that if a person fails to comply with a court order to seek mental health treatment as an outpatient, that person could be brought back before the court. And if found still in crisis, can be committed to a psychiatric institution for up to 180 days. He was never summoned to court to explain why he had not complied. He was never summoned back. That's sad.
There it is, folks.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with gun laws. Nothing to do with gaps in freaking laws.
There was no gap. The court's a fucking moron.
Yes. The investigation panel had sought Cho's medical records for several weeks, but due to privacy laws, Virginia Tech was prohibited from releasing them without permission from Cho's family, even after his death. I'm sure Cho's family would be like, yeah.
Why wouldn't there? Yeah, right.
The panel had considered using subpoenas to obtain his records. June 12, 2007, Cho's family released his medical records to the panel, although the panel said that the records were not enough. The panel obtained additional information by court order. Cho had been prescribed paroxetine years before the shooting, but had been taken off it after only a year. The toxicology test from the official autopsy later showed that neither psychiatric nor any kind of illegal drugs were in his system during the time of the shooting. 2009, August, Virginia Tech released its medical records of Cho, along with those found in July 2009 to the public.
In the aftermath of the killing spree, Virginia Governor Timothy Kane appointed a panel to investigate the campus shootings, with plans for the panel to submit a report of its findings in approximately 2 to 3 months. He also invited former Homeland Security Secretary Tom Ridge, we know that, to help investigate and analyze the emergency response surrounding the Virginia Tech shooting. Kane hired Tridata Corporation, same company that investigated Columbine. Wasn't that irony?
Right.
Panel's final report devoted more than 20 pages to detailing his mental health history. The report criticized Virginia Tech educators, administrators, and mental health staff in failing to connect the dots from numerous incidents that were warning signs of Cho's mental instability beginning in his junior year.
Yep.
Wow, like we've been saying this for the last hour and a half.
Yep.
The report concluded that the school's mental health systems failed for lack of resources. I don't know about that. Incorrect interpretation of privacy laws and passivity. Get the
I just didn't care.
Everybody on that board.
That's stupid.
Everybody in Virginia Tech that had a hand in that should be fired.
Fired forever. The report called Virginia's mental health laws flawed and its mental health services inadequate. It's true. The report also confirmed that Cho was able to purchase 2 guns in violation of federal law because of Virginia's inadequate background checks requirements. Obviously, so to the federalized, this guy he's good. Yeah, he can give him these guns.
Even under federal, though, if you have the mental health stuff, you're not allowed to.
Right. What I'm saying. Without this being reported, everybody was like, "Oh, this guy's good. Let's give him his guns."
Well, we know that Cho's sister prepared a statement, and we read that earlier. But she also said, "This is someone that I grew up with and loved. Now I feel like I didn't know this person."
Right.
She said in a statement issued through a North Carolinian attorney, "We never could have envisioned that he was capable of so much violence."
Right.
Cho's grandfather stated, "My grandson was very shy. I can't believe he did such a thing." Wait, weren't you just calling him? Well, I mean, I guess 2008 article marking the anniversary of the massacre. The Washington Post did a follow-up on the family, reporting that they had gone into hiding for months following the massacre.
Wow.
And after eventually returning home, had virtually cut themselves off from the world.
Right.
Several windows in their home have been papered over and drawn blinds cover the rest. The only real outside contact they have maintained is with the FBI agent assigned to their care and their lawyer. Hey, they got an FBI agent too?
Nice.
Refusing to contact their own relatives in South Korea even.
Oh, geez, there's a shame to talk to them.
Right.
Jeez. During the time period between the 2 shooting events on April 16th, Cho visited a local post office near the Virginia Tech campus, where we said he emailed all that stuff to NBC. The package was apparently intended to be received on April 17th, but was delayed by 1 day because of incorrect zip code and street address.
Oh, jeez.
The name of the sender on the package, according to NBC, was A. Ishmael. According to NBC News, the words Ishmael Axe were scrawled on one of Cho's arms. On one of his arms? How would ABC knows that? How would ABC News know that?
Ishmael Axe, both in red ink, supposedly were scrawled on one of Cho's arms.
It was reported a few days after the package was received that the internet is abuzz with speculation about the meaning of the phrase Ishmael X on Cho's arm. A. Ishmael on the package and X Ishmael on a file contained in the package sent to NBC. He must have liked whatever
Ishmael,
that means.
Right? One hypothesis is that Ishmael Axe represents divine retribution in reference to the Islamic belief that Abraham, the father of Ishmael, broke some idols with his axe to abolish idol worship, or to the Islamic belief that God asked Abraham to sacrifice the innocent Ishmael. No one reported Cho was Muslim. No one reported Cho was Muslim.
Right.
And he refers to himself in Christian terms and refers to Jesus being hung on a cross, which is not part of Islamic belief.
Not at all.
One hypothesis for the name Ishmael Axe is that could be a reference to Drum Hadley's poem, The Goat Ranchers, which talk about Ishmael's axe.
Oh.
Other hypotheses are that Ishmael Axe, and Axe Ishmael was a reference to Ishmael, the narrator of Herman Melville's Moby Dick,
Maybe.
or to a set of books by Daniel Quinn that features. They don't know.
All right.
Idiots.
Here's what we found on Ishmael.
Anything that includes Ishmael Axe.
We also think there's a small chance, but the Rocket Ishmael that used to play for the Chicago Bears could be him too. Also suggested Ishmael.
I'm done with Ishmael. I don't care.
Stupid idiots.
Jeez.
Upon receiving the package on the 18th of April, NBC contacted authorities and made the controversial decision to publicize Cho's communications by releasing a small fraction of it.
You think they care if it was controversial? They knew some people were going to tune into their shit. They don't give a shit.
After pictures and images from the videos were broadcast in numerous news reports, students and faculty from Virginia Tech, along with relatives of victims of the campus shooting, they all expressed their concerns that glorifying Cho's rampage could lead to a copycat. You think they care?
Right.
How long did they go with Columbine?
Forever.
The airing of the manifesto and his video images and pictures were upsetting to many, obviously. Peter Reed, the father of Mary Reed, one of the students who were killed by Cho during the rampage, asked the media, stop airing Cho's manifesto.
They love manifestos, dude. The media lives for manifestos. Right. It's like the first thing they ask when there's a shooting. Did he have a manifesto?
If not, we'll make one.
Right. Police officials who reviewed the video, pictures, and manifesto concluded the contents had marginal value in helping them learn and understand why he committed the killings.
Of course it didn't.
Michael Wellner, who also reviewed the materials, believed that Cho's rantings offered little insight into the mental illness that may have been triggered by, or that may have triggered the rampage.
No one knows, bud.
Wellner stated that these videos do not help us understand Cho. They distort him. He was meek. He was quiet. This is a PR tape of him trying to turn himself into a Quentin Tarantino actor.
Oh, character.
Same thing. During the April 24th, 2007 edition of the Oprah Winfrey Show, NBC News President Steve Kappas stated NBC decided to air 2 minutes and 20 seconds of the 25-minute video.
Oh, of course
they received just 37 sentences and just 37 sentences of the 23 pages.
Get the hell out of here.
Oh, well, we only aired a little bit.
Pick and choose. The PDF that had last been modified on April 16th at 7:24 a.m., minutes after he had shot and killed his first two victims and nearly 2 hours before they went on a second rampage. The Microsoft Word files were drafts of the two sections of the manifesto, which he had written earlier. One being last modified on the 13th of April at 3:45 p.m. and the 15th of April, 8:22 a.m. The soul.avi file of him reading the manifesto titled Letter 1 was recorded even earlier at 9:40 a.m. on April 10th. Damn. A full 6 days before the massacre.
Jeez.
27 QuickTime videos together total 24 minutes and are ranging in length from 16 seconds to 6 minutes. The titles of those other video clips are varied and hard to match with their content. All of you, Am Al Qaeda, Anti-Terror, as time appropriated. Blood,
probably.
Right. Blood of
Innocence.
Crad,
Congratulations.
could be victim. That's what they said.
Oh, jeez, dude.
That's what they said on it.
Rambling comments are those of an angry young man who felt persecuted, who felt that the world was against him, who felt he was a victim of personal terrorism. 5 of the videos are titled End, N1, N2, End Car, and End Some Life.
Oh, jeez.
Those 5 seem to be amongst the last recorded, perhaps between the shootings.
Maybe.
In those 5 videos, Cho addresses no one by name, although he does seemingly address Virginia Tech students and into as brats and snobs with Mercedes and trust funds. Trust fund, baby. In his manifesto, he mentioned the Columbine killers, Eric and Dylan, and also makes references to hedonism and Christianity while expressing anger about unspecified wrongs that were done to him. Pete Williams, an MSNBC justice correspondent, said that Cho lacked logical governance, suggesting that Cho was under severe emotional distress. In the video, he also railed against deceitful charlatans on campus, rich kids, materialism, and hedonism. Saying, did you want to inject as many misery in our lives as you can just because you can?
In one of his videos, Cho repeatedly suggests he was picked on or otherwise hurt, saying, you have vandalized my heart, raped my soul, and tortured my conscience.
Clearly in reference to a girl.
You thought it was one pathetic more life you were extinguishing. Thanks to you, I die like Jesus Christ.
Well,
to inspire generations of the weak and the defenseless people.
Well,
on the other instance, Cho mentions martyrs like Eric and Dylan. Cho also stated in the videos, you forced me into a corner, gave me only one option. This guy.
One of Cho's roommates.
What happened to this guy? That's right. There's a lot of stories probably no one said. No, they don't want to.
Right.
This guy something happened. He got beat up.
I don't care what happened. He's a piece of shit.
The girls made fun of him.
Sure he did. Hey, it happens to fucking thousands and millions of people.
He got invited to be on the ninth green at 9.
He's like, I think I hear the asteroids machine calling my name from the game room. One of Cho's roommates, Karan Grewell, stated that the place where Cho's videos were taken looks exactly like our common areas where we hung out every day.
Right.
Can't be sure, but the walls look exactly like our suite. I'm sure it was then.
Duh.
According to Virginia Tech report, Cho seemed to enjoy the idea of writing, especially poetry. And he attempted to get a book published while in college. After the mass shooting, a former classmate of Cho's provided AOL with 2 plays written by Cho. An AOL official said the authenticity of the plays was verified by AOL before they were posted online. Plays included Richard McBeef and Mr. Brownstone, both written in 2006.
Were they any good?
Probably not.
Approximately 1 year before the incident, Cho wrote a paper for an assignment in an intro to short fiction class. In that paper, Cho wrote about a mass school murder that was planned by the protagonist of the story.
This is now his second paper writing about mass or school shootings.
In the story, the protagonist did not follow through with the killings.
Oh.
During the proceedings of the Virginia Tech panel, the panel was unaware of the existence of the paper written by Cho.
This is an assignment turned in. How are they not aware of this?
Well, the assignment ended up being he didn't do it.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you would think the professor would have been like, hey, he wrote this one paper a year before.
Right. Additionally, in March of 2006, at Virginia Tech's 22nd Annual Research Symposium and Exposition, Cho submitted a poem titled Spear Me Down, Heaven, to an advanced undergraduate category. The poem included violent lines, including, I wish to annihilate myself, and tear me to shrivels, eat me to help me. Wow. When information surfaced about the paper, the Virginia Tech panel learned that at the time that only the Virginia State Police and Virginia Tech had copies of the unreleased paper in their possession. Okay.
So 2 people who should have known. The Virginia State Police reported that although it had a copy of the paper, Virginia law prevented them from releasing it to the panel because it was part of the investigative file.
Okay.
And an ongoing investigation. Virginia Tech, on the other hand, had known about the paper, and officials at the school discussed the contents of the paper among themselves in the aftermath of the shootings. According to Governor Kane, Virginia Tech was expected to turn over all of Cho's writings during the proceedings of the Virginia Tech panel.
Okay.
After some members of the Virginia Tech panel complained about the missing paper, Virginia Tech decided to release a copy of the paper to the panel. Of course, they don't. Virginia Tech's a piece of shit, dude.
So dumb.
Whoever the head of the university needs to be fired immediately.
Edward Falco, a playwright and professor at Virginia Tech, acknowledged that Cho wrote both the released plays in his class. Falco said that the plays, they're not good writing, but they're at least a form of communication, and in his responses to the other students' plays, he could be quite articulate. Well, another professor who taught Cho characterized his work as very adolescent and silly, with attempts at slapstick comedy.
They just described our show.
And elements of violence.
I don't know about that.
Sometimes. Classmates believed the plays were really morbid and grotesque. According to CBS News, Cho's violent writing and loner status fit the Secret Service shooter profile.
Yeah, no shit.
No, right. Referring to a 2002 U.S. Secret Service study that was conducted after the Columbine massacre, with violent writing cited as one of the most typical behavioral attributes, obviously.
Right.
The United States Secret Service concluded the study by saying that the largest group of school shooters exhibited an interest in violence in their own writings, such as poems, essays, journal entries. While school shooters' interest in other violent media was generally low. I mean, it's all common sense stuff here.
Teenager in 2015 willingly set fire to a classroom in South Korea. Had no deaths, though. Said he wanted to leave behind a record like Cho Sung-hee.
Oh, wow.
It was reported in 2015 that some South Korean internet users glorified the Virginia Tech killing.
Oh, and that through America?
Affectiously called General Cho.
Oh, Shita.
2017 after the United Express.
North Korean sympathizers, probably?
Maybe. Or they're just assholes. Right. 2017 after the United Express Flight 3411 incident was reported, numerous people on the South Korean internet commemorated Cho, saying, for example, I miss General Cho Sung-hee. It is from DC Inside Forum in 2014 that came the idea of calling Cho a general of the Battle of Virginia.
Oh, no.
The forum hailed Cho as a hero against white racism toward Koreans.
Oh, geez.
The surname General stemmed from the idea that Cho killed numerous people while being only one, thus making him a genius tactician. Well, no, or else he was the only one that had a gun.
Right.
Over the years, Cho, and as soon as he was faced with guns, he shot himself in the head like a pussy.
Exactly.
Over the years, Cho had become a symbol of resistance against what Korean internet users perceived as anti-Korean racism on any subject.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Jeez, oh, Pete. Huh.
And one, this one with the unfortunate list of the 32 victims. Jamie Bishop, age 35, was German instructor. Jocelyn Couture Nowak, age 49, professor of French. Kevin Granada, 45, professor of engineering. Levu Lebrescu, 76, professor of engineering. G.V. Laganathan, 53, professor of engineering. Ross Almadine, 20, was a sophomore. Brian Blum, 25, was a master's student. Ryan Clark, 22, was a senior. Austin Cloyd, 18, freshman. Daniel Perez Cueva, 21, a junior. He was from Peru, too. Wow. Matthew Galtney, 24, a master's student. Caitlin Hammerin, 19, a sophomore. Jeremy Herbstritt, a master's student. He was 27. Rachel Hill, 18, a freshman. Emily Hilshire, the first one shot, 19, freshman. Jarrett Lane, 22, a senior. Matthew Laporte, 20, a sophomore. Henry J. Lee, 20, a freshman. Partaihi Lumbantoran, 34 years old, a PhD student. Lauren McCain, 20 years old, freshman. Daniel O'Neill, 22, a master's student. Juan Ramon Ortiz, 26, a master's student. Manal Panchal, 26, a master's student. Aaron Peterson, 18, a freshman. Michael Pohl Jr., 23, a senior. Julia Pride, 23, a master's student. Mary Reed, 19, a freshman. Rima Samaha, 18, a freshman. Waleed Shalan, 32, was a PhD student. Leslie Sherman, age 20, a junior. Maxine Turner, 22, a senior. And Nicole White, age 20, a junior. Dude, a lot of different backgrounds, too. People from Egypt, India.
Couple Jersey folk.
India again, Puerto Rico, Indonesia, Vietnam. Jeez, dude. Wow. Yeah. This episode, like many other ones that we've covered of mass shootings like this, way red flags before it even happened. Should have been prevented, but of course,
unreported incidents.
But of course, the ones that didn't report it and adhere to the law that these people set in place, nothing happens to them.
And then go out there and be like, the law needs to be.
Yeah. There was gaps. No, the only gaps is because of you idiots.
Gaps was idiots. So stupid.
Idiots.
These stupid asses would have done what they're supposed to do. He wouldn't have been able to get those legally, and he would have had to find another way.
And probably wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Yeah.
Stupid what happened.
All in all, just
stupid what happened.
Totally preventable.
And not trying to stick up for the dumbass shooter. But I'm sure he got his ass beat and he got picked on and this and that.
I don't give a shit.
Right.
Fuck him.
Right. But the school also failed to recognize.
Not only that, the school, the courts, the mental health facility.
The court said, the mental health facility was like, yeah, this dude's going to hurt himself or somebody else, most likely.
And the judge was even like, yeah, he's an imminent threat to himself or others. You must do the mandatory counseling. Yeah, well, totally preventable, just like every other thing that we've had on mass shootings, pretty much. And we'll leave you with that. After this long episode, as usual, we got anything wrong, or you got something you want to add to the story, or something else we didn't know about, you can email us at bangdangpodcast@gmail.com. And then also go check out Battles of the American Civil War and This Week in Sports History, all on the Bang Dang Network. We'll be back next week with the Mouth of Michiganders with
Bang Dang.